Making a brief recording explaining the measurement specification page a little bit. So it is the 5th page in your TechPack, and it's connected to the POM page just in the way that the specs are listed. The POMs are listed and they coordinate with the previous page, POMs, how to measure, so that visually anyone can figure out how you want this garment measured for production. So, same as always, logo, date, style number, size, sample size, size range, and a sketch. Put the sketch on every page, just so whoever's using your TechPack can always refer and make sure they're in the right style, the right TechPack. Okay. Note the specs are full garment measurements. That means even if you're measuring across the top of the bodice, lay flat, and it's 15.5. But you double it because you're measuring the full garment, so that's 31. If you measure across the bust flat, you're going to get 17, but your spec is 34. That's 17 times 2. The total circumference of this garment is 34 at the bust line. Same thing at the waist. You're measuring flat across the waist, and we did do this in class, and if you don't remember, just be sure and ask me questions. So the total waist circumference is 28. That means if you're measuring this garment flat on the table, it's 14. I've numbered each spec or specification, let's call it spec for short. The number 5 was a little more detailed. Spec 5 is at this little red arrow here, the width front of the princess seam, because I want the skirt to be flat in that area. So that tells the factory where you want it flat and how wide you want that little pattern piece. And that piece is graded, so it's going to get a little narrower going downsizing and a little wider going up. And if you have questions on grading, be sure and ask me. I gave a spec for the strap length and the strap width, even though the width never changes. It's the same on all sizes, but the strap length does grade a little bit because it goes from the middle of your chest to the front chest to the middle of your back, and there's a little bit of a height grade at the shoulder. I told the factory how much I want the back strap to overlap, and that doesn't change. That's the same for every size, and that's where your buttons and buttonholes are spaced. Length of skirt and length of bodice, there's a standard grade, and I just noticed there's a mistake here. This should be 26 3/4. Your skirt should get a 1/4 inch shorter and a 1/4 inch longer in the bigger sizes, but my sample's got to measure 27 inches plus or minus 3/8 of an inch. And this column is the tolerance, and that tells you, the factory, how much you're willing to let the garment be off spec. I gave a very small amount for the strap length and width because it's just a big rectangle that should be easy to control. And I gave a little bit more tolerance in the bodice because we're using seersucker fabric, and we're giving them 1/2 inch plus or minus to be off. On the length of the skirt and the bodice, didn't give quite as much of leeway because you're actually, if you go to the limit of this tolerance, you're actually into the next size of the length, spec-wise. So you have to be careful about giving too much tolerance. The sweep, it's a very full skirt, 96 inches in size small, but still the same grade, down 2 inches and up 2 inches, up 3 inches for extra large. And this is a sample measurement that you may or may not use in a production situation, but for us, I would like you to measure your muslin in this column. That would be your first muslin. So we want to document the changes you made after our first fitting. So before you fill in all the rest of the grade, just fill in the measurements of your first muslin on this column. Only thing I might have left out to highlight your sample size, and by that I mean just it's blue, so even if someone did not think of which size, you just want to measure the right size when you're measuring your sample. So size small is our sample, we've highlighted, and our sample has a size small tag in it. So we just want to keep organized and keep all the information together. I think that's it for this page.